more aspects of the drama that you need to be able to discuss. Fine. The playwright, of course, is what we call the writer or the author of the drama. So get used to the term playwright. Stage directions are made by the author or the writer or the playwright, if you like. They are very important. Don't think it's just to say, to give you a bit of information about the scenery or where to enter and where to exit. It can actually also um, help you help with the characterization of a character. So don't disregard the stage directions. In exams, you're often asked questions about the effect of the stage directions. So keep in mind that they are important. So they can give information about the scenery. So he emerges from behind a tree, whatever. So stage direction. It gives modes of entry and exit. But it can also show a character's social status or the person's subservience or the person's emotional state at that time. If he stomps off the stage, he's obviously upset or something like that. In the case, for instance, in the Crucible, right at the beginning, you get Tituba, who is afraid and she moves away because she's already worried that she will get a flogging or she would be somehow harshly treated. So it can show subservience, etc. It's very important to look at stage directions. The director is a very important person in terms of the drama, putting it on stage. He directs the actors and actresses as to how they're supposed to act, how they're supposed to go about their business, because he has to think about holding the attention of the audience. And in order to do that, he uses many methods. So he's in control. He directs the actors, the actresses. He also has artistic control over movement and action. As we say here, movement and action. On the stage, how should they carry themselves? Should they lie down on the floor? Should they jump up? What should they do? How will they portray a certain or get a certain effect? Also, the lighting, he's in control of that as well. And also of the backdrop. Now, the backdrop is like the painted cloth at the back of the stage, which suggests setting. Say it's a wood and it's a lot of trees. Do you understand? Sometimes they use props for that. But he's in control of all of these things because he needs to make sure that the attention of the audience is captured throughout. Very often, in a play, in a stage production, you will, or in a drama, you will have a narrator as well, and the narrator is supposed to be omniscient. He or she knows about things. Sometimes the narrator is part of the play. Sometimes he is or she is just a figure who narrates from time to time, fills us in with information from time to time. So he seems to have knowledge about what's going on over and above what the characters know. Can also help for dramatic tension or dramatic irony because he can tell the audience things that the characters are not supposed to hear, so they're going to have knowledge that the actors don't have. Right, you must be aware, as you were with the drama, the novel, of the five-part structure, which is basically the same. That the five-part structure of the play, I'm going to talk about those quickly, and how also the timeline is used, the order of events, how they unfold, the pace, how quickly the plot unfolds. All these things are words that you need to know what they're all about. It's about the plot and the subplot. Now, quickly, those 5 steps. It's the exposition, where the characters are setting and the basic conflict is introduced. Then we get the rising action, the plot is put in action, and the conflict develops. Then you get the climax of the play, the most exciting or the most important culmination of the events up to a certain point. And then after that, we have the events falling, the falling action, until we finally also get to the denouement, where we wrap up the story. Now, not all plays follow this structure 100%, especially in modern plays. It is not always 100% like that. But in Shakespeare's plays, you will very often see this very structure unfolding. Concepts, of course, that you need to be able to talk about. The plot is very important. Remember, it's not the story, it is the pattern of cause and effect. What causes things to happen, not just what happens. The subplot is, of course, a secondary plot, and it develops alongside the main plot. Also, take note where the dramatist have brought in comic relief, right? Which are humorous interludes designed to break the seriousness or the tension of the situation. And don't just make these little comic relief scenes off as nothing, because sometimes they really fulfill a very important role in that they comment on the main events. And that is particularly true about the comic relief scenes in Macbeth, for instance. They comment on the main events. Right? You must once again know about characters, about the protagonist, the main character, positive usually, and then the protagonist, and then the antagonist who goes against the protagonist. You also need to know about flat and round characters, like we've already discussed in the novel, and how characterization takes place through dialogue. What do these characters say about others and even about themselves, if you like, through asides, where the character pretends that whoever is with him or her does not hear what he or she is saying. So it's really speaking his own mind and his thoughts so that the audience knows, but the other characters don't know. Look especially at the conflict between the characters and what that reveals about the characters. And the soliloquy, of course, where the person speaks by himself and reveals his inner state of mind. Something that Shakespeare makes very good use of in his psychological plays, and in Hamlet and in Macbeth, and so it's put to very good use. You need to hear, you need to really understand tone. Tone in a drama is very important. In a novel, you're going to have to also imagine perhaps what tone of voice a certain person might have used, so that when you read the story, you might read it in a sarcastic way or something like that. But in a drama, very important to listen to the tone of voice, because the people are speaking all the time and they're running around on the stage and they're talking. And you also make sure that you trace the growth of a character. If it's a round character, that character is supposed to grow. And if it's the main character, obviously it's supposed to grow. Well, why would one have a flat character as a main character? It simply won't work. So, and how the growth corresponds with and sort of reacts within a certain context. Look at the conflicts and how that shapes a character, for instance, etc. Things that happen. Look also at the placing of the characters. That's quite interesting. The placing of the characters is also the job of the director. And ask yourself the question, for instance, why would directors sometimes get the characters or a character or two to walk off the stage and walk around within the audience, or enter from the back of the theater? Or why would they do that? Ask yourself why, because its effect, it has a certain effect, and you need to be able to write about that, to talk about that, and say whether you think it was effective, or whether you would perhaps have done it somewhere in another way, whether it actually bothered you that that happened. Wouldn't you have perhaps done it in a totally different way? Can you describe that? That can be a 4-mark question. So look at the placing of the characters on the stage, and what the director has his characters do. I asked you about the characters that sometimes move into the audience. I know this is a musical and it's Cats, but can you see that the placing of characters on a stage is very, very important? And if you carefully analyze those, you will see what I mean. Or when they have the cats move out and actually scare the audience, and that can be very effective or off-putting, perhaps. Obviously, what they want to do is they want to involve the audience, and they want to please the audience as much as they can, hold their attention. And there are other concepts that you also need to understand and be able to talk about. And the following concepts all have to do with the audience and the audience's reaction. So think of mood, that is how the play or the tone or whatever happens on the stage, how it makes the audience feel. It's about the audience, how they feel about it. There's this word catharsis. I'll talk about that in a minute. There is tension, like dramatic tension that can go on when a certain character doesn't know what the other character knows, or that the audience knows what the characters don't know, and they want to interfere because they don't want this terrible thing to happen, or something like that. There's this tension. And I've talked about comic relief, where you actually get the ha-ha from the audience in a very tragic or a very serious play. Here and there, just whew. Okay, so now we go on, and the tension will build up again, but at least you had a moment of laughter in between. The dramatic irony I've talked about, and look out for ironic twists. So we're going to look at the catharsis. I said I will talk about that in a minute. A Shakespearean tragedy traces the painful downfall of a prominent figure, as we've said. And these happenings, everything that happens on the stage, leaves the audience with a certain mood. Sometimes it's sympathy for this character. Sometimes you want to condemn this character. You hate this character, and you hope he is going to be killed or something. But you feel, you get the feeling that you either condemn or you have sympathy. So the dramatic irony and the ironic twists can involve the audience and can create tension. But usually, after seeing a stage play, especially a Shakespearean one, you leave the theatre feeling that, okay, the protagonist died. Macbeth died. So shame. I had so much sympathy with him there and there and there about him being emasculated by his wife, etc. But I feel the way things went, there is no other option. He has to die. So I walk out of the theatre with a feeling of calm, feeling of things went the way they had to go. So that is called catharsis. In other words, once again, it's a feeling within the audience that I feel satisfied. I'm not walking out of this theater right here at the height of all the tension and everything. No, everything has been concluded. There's been a denouement. The new king has been crowned. Everything is back to normal, and I can go home safe and sound, and I can feel that everything is the way it should be. So, in Hamlet, the interests focus on morality and the psychology of the tragic protagonist. So you can see that if you want to make some kind of psychological point in a play, how you can actually make use of soliloquy and asides and so forth. Very, very powerful tool that. So, and it's there more about the suffering that provides the audience with insights because this complex character has been explored and the way he thinks and the way he reasons about life and about these complex issues. All these things have made the member of the audience think about life and so on. So it offers this opportunity of growth and of thinking, etc., and of insight into the human condition. And also, when you've read the entire text, and you've got to the end and to the denouement, and you now know exactly what the themes were, what the motifs were, you know about the characters and the characterization, and you look at the themes that were explored in the play. For instance, in Hamlet, it's revenge, justice, good versus evil, love, etc. The motifs, like, for instance, the weeds that are used, the image of the weeds, and poison and disease used in Hamlet and Macbeth, the ill-fitting garments, for instance. You try to tell yourself, fine, these were the themes, this is how it was all brought about through the motifs, etc., and through characterization and through events and the plot unraveling like this. Then you know what the message is that the play actually wanted you to get. And you can actually write it out perhaps in a sentence or two, that you know what the message is. But eventually you have to go a step or two further, because that's also part of what you're going to be tested on in an exam, is that you must react to this. Now, how do you react to this message or to what this play? You might have a very definite feeling about what was being said here. You might agree strongly or disagree, or have your doubts. So make your text to self comparisons. In other words, this is the text, and how do I feel about it? Make your text to text, but in another text, that was said, and actually I prefer that to that, and this is how they differ or how they correspond. And then text to the world, and has this play taught me anything about the world in general? What is universal about what was said in this play, for instance? Universal issues, such as the amount of control one has in one's life over things that happen to you, about family issues, leadership, and justice. So you're going to have to react. You're going to ask yourself, did I like what I heard, or what this play wanted to teach me? Didn't I like it? Why didn't I like it? But was it brought across well? Stylistic things. You're going to have this interaction, the final interaction, where you reflect upon what you have read and what you have understood. And then you'll be fine in terms of your studying the drama of the prescribed drama, or the drama of your choice. That's it.